Hey, this is Pastor Matthew Tilley, and I'm bringing you a thought for the day. About 26 years ago, just about almost 27 years ago now, me and my wife brought home our first little baby boy. His name was Harrison, and he was and still is very independent, strong-minded, a little bit hard-headed at times, but a really strong-minded young man. When we brought him home that first night, since then he has had a lot on him. Now he's got a lot on him, but he's had a lot on his mind, a lot of things he had to deal with. But when we brought him home that first night, he did not have a care in this world. Every bit of worry, every bit of concern, every bit of anything that was wrong, it wasn't on this little baby. This was on me and his mama's shoulders. And over the years, things have changed. I mean, like I said, he's almost 27 years old now, so things have shifted, things have changed. Just a few years ago, he got married. We are blessed to have Me and my wife are blessed to have a grandchild now. We're happy to have a little baby girl in our family. Him and his wife just had a baby just not too long ago. He works for a sheriff's department. I mean, we're proud of him. He's so many things are good, and things have changed from that again 20 something years ago when he was a little baby boy. We brought him home. But as we both mature, and again, the relationship is different now because I we're both adults, and so it's a different kind of relationship. But even as we both mature and our lives change and things change, I hope he knows. Again, he may not. Maybe he'll watch this, and I can tell him directly. But in all seriousness, I would tell him anytime I can. I hope he knows he can bring his worries to me. I'm never going to stop praying for my son. Never going to stop working for my son's best. And that's going to be true even if I'm disappointed by the choices he makes. Because let's be honest, we're not always going to agree on things that he does, and he may not agree with things that I do. So I may be disappointed in his choices, but I'm still going to be on his side, pulling for him. Even if I disagree with the direction that he's taking, I'm going to be praying and working for him. And even if in those cases when he doesn't come to me for help, I'm still for him. I'm still pulling for him. I'm still trying to work out the best for him and as much as I'm able to do that. So I'm always there's really nothing that's going to make me not love him and care for him. And I think this kind of intense, never-ending, ever-present, always working kind of love and concern is exactly what Peter is talking about in First Peter chapter 5 and verse 7. If I could just turn you over there, turn your attention to that. In First Peter chapter 5, verse 7, there's a very familiar verse. It says, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. In this passage, what I'm learning is that you can cast all your cares upon God, certainly casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. But the reason you can do that is because he is God. In fact, if you go to the verse prior to that, just before that, it's got this verse that says, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. In other words, he's the one that's got the powerful hand. He's the one that can handle whatever you throw at him. And our lives can throw a lot at the Lord, but he is able to handle no matter what we throw at him. He's able to handle it. He's God. Thinking about my son again when he was much younger, and we would maybe go on a vacation to somewhere and maybe had a swimming pool, or maybe we would go to a friend's house, had a swimming pool, and he would want to stand on the side of that pool and jump into the water. It was just a great game in his mind, and it was fine. I mean, I'm a man, and as a little boy, and he could throw himself at me, and sometimes he would do it, and I would be looking the other way, but you know. Very rarely, occasionally, his head might go under the water, but generally speaking, I caught him. I was able to do that because I could handle it. Now, again, I'm not perfect by any means, but I was able to handle what this little boy was throwing at me, and he didn't have to worry. He just trusted, Daddy's got this. In the same way, we can trust our God that He is in control and He has this in His hands. So we can trust, or rather, we can cast our cares on God because He is God. But we can also cast our cares on him because he's already on it. If you really pay attention to what that verse says there, it says, casting all your care upon him, For he careth for you. He careth for you. That last little bit there, he careth for you. He is saying in that verse that not only does he care for you, which is what we might naturally think in kind of that English reading of that, and he cares for us. He has warm feelings, warm affections for us, and he does have that. But that word careth for you is so much more than simply that he likes us. Again, I think God does like you, but it's more than that. It's the fact that he is effectively concerned, much in the same way that I might say, I'm taking care of the house or I'm taking care of the garden. What do I mean by that? That I like the house, that I like the garden? Maybe, but there's more to it than that. That I'm actually working on it. I'm fixing it. I'm taking care. I'm overseeing it. I'm concerned about it, and I'm fixing it. The point of that is simply to say that you have a God who cares for you so much because He's already working on your situation, even when you don't know that He's involved in these circumstances. He's involved in it, so He's active even if you don't realize it. And then, thirdly, you can cast your cares on God because it's just too much for you to handle. I want to turn your attention back to the text again, where he says in that passage, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. But in the next paragraph, in verse 8, he's talking about the devil. He says to be sober and to be vigilant because of your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. And he is talking about this devil who is looking for, and he uses all of the cracks and the crevices and all the weak spots, trying to find places where uh, he can get in and he can worm his way in and destroy us. And that's why Peter writes that we should be casting all our care, not just the big things, not just the things that are maybe eternal or spiritual, but all of our cares, all those things that weigh us down, because the devil will use every little thing. If you're a little bit down, you're depressed, you're maybe you get a little extra money or whatever, the little things that come along in your life that may not seem significant to you. They may just be another day, another thing that's happening, but the devil is standing there, as Peter says, like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. The only hope that you have is to take those cares and concerns and throw them onto Jesus. Just to give you an illustration of my point, I can tell you a story that happened to me several years ago. Now it's been a long time now, but fortunately, this is further in the past because it's a little bit of an embarrassing story for me. But I had a little Chevrolet Aveo. You remember those cars? They don't make them anymore. Basically, a Korean car that they put a Chevrolet tag on it. But it was a nice little car. I liked it. It was easy to take care of, and I had a problem with a catalytic converter. And I'm not a mechanic guy. I can't do that. That's not my skill set. And the older I get, the less able that I feel like I'm, or capable that I feel able to do those sorts of things. But in this time, for some reason, I decided I was going to fix this thing. Well, I ordered the part, got it in, was able to miraculously get the old part off and pretty easily put the new part on. And I felt good about myself, but I cranked that car up, and wouldn't you know it, it just sounded like I was at a drag strip somewhere, just roar. That thing was roaring in a way this little Aveo normally would not. And I just didn't know what I had done wrong. Everything looked right. It seemed right. Talked to somebody that I trusted, and they said, Did you have a little gasket that you put in there?" And I said, "Oh, you mean this little rubber ring that I have right here?" He's like, "Yeah, that needs to have gone into the piece." And I was, "Oh my goodness." So I was like, "Okay, I got it out before. It won't be a problem. Let's get the new part out, put the gasket in, we'll be good to go." So that'll solve it. Well, all that set up to tell you that I could not get the new part out. I had cross threaded the bolts in there, and I couldn't make them things come out for nothing. Even though that old part had been basically rusted into place, and I was able to get it out, but because of what I had done to get this thing in there, and I had not aligned those threads up properly, it was going to be stuck. So there was just no way, no how that I was going to be able to get this thing out. And I tried all kinds of things. I mean, honest to goodness, I tried everything, dangerous things even, and I just couldn't get them out. And I tried day after day. Seriously, this went on for days. That car sat in my garage, and I tried to get that bolt out. I could not get it, and I was a little bit embarrassed, a lot concerned about how much money it was going to cost me, And I just tried a few different things. And finally, me and my wife were talking about it. And she's like, just go take it to the mechanic, let him fix it for you. You know, it won't be a big problem. It'll cost you a little bit, but it'll be solved and you can use your car again. I finally did. I did take it there. It did cost me, as these things often do, but it ultimately, I was able to take it to the person who knew how to do it. Now, if I'd have kept it on my own, first of all, I would have never been able to drive that car again. Ultimately, I would have that's best case. Worst case, I could have done damage to the car, maybe even hurt myself in the process of trying to get that thing out of there. But with a simple act of just taking it to the mechanic who knows how to handle these things, with just a few turns of the right tools and all that kind of thing, they were able to fix it. Yeah, it cost me some money. I understand that. It definitely cost me a little embarrassment having to take it to somebody, but they were able to get me back on the road. It was too much for me, but it was not a problem for the one who knows how to do it. And that's exactly what the way it is with your worries and your cares. If you keep on hang on to those things, they're going to kill you. It's going to kill you. And I mean that very seriously. Those things that you hang on to, they're going to sink you to the bottom. They will ultimately, if you don't cast your cares, your sins, your faults, your shame onto the Lord, it will actually take you to hell. On the other hand, if you will take those things and cast them on Him, first of all, He can handle it. Second of all, He's already working on it. And third of all, it's too much for you, but it's not a problem for Him. So why don't you go ahead and cast your cares on